Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
We're the insiders. So, Scott, we had a primary, spring primary. We're going to go to the spring election. What are the results? What do you think are the implications?
I think there's a number of interesting things from the February primary. First of all, turnout was very high. An unusually large turnout, 16% across the state. That's actually high for a turnout in that election. It suggests that we're going to have a big turnout in the April election. I think that'll, with a presidential race, that clearly could be 45, 50%, I think, in that race. So we're going to have a big turnout. Tom Tiffany is going to be the next congressman in the 7th Congressional District. I think Kelly is favored in the general election, despite the fact that the Democratic turnout in that presidential primary could steer that a little closer to the Democrats than a normal spring primary. And I was very impressed with the African-American turnout and the impact on a bunch of the Milwaukee elections. There are 4 African-American candidates who won or made it to the next round in Milwaukee. I think 2 or 3 of them are going to actually be the winners there in citywide and countywide offices. I think David Crowley is going to win that county exec's race, and I think Jason Fields is going to be the next city comptroller. Lena Taylor outperformed. I mean, she spent next to no money. It was all sheer personal effort, but I don't know that she can make that up in the general election. She's not going to have the resources to overcome the amount of money that Barrett has.
Well, those are some good insights. Let me give you what's going on here on the most important race for Democrats overall, and that is, believe it or not the presidential primary, which will be interesting. Bernie won in the past, could well win again, depends upon how the dynamics go here in the next several weeks in other primaries. But the big race is the Supreme Court for Democrats and for progressives. And we have the advantage of a presidential primary, and we also have the advantage, as Scott says, of having several African Americans on really high-profile races right where we need black turnout. Mm-hmm. And that is in Milwaukee County, you have a county exec. There's a real chance for the first African American county executive in Milwaukee. Wow. That maybe in the entire state of Wisconsin probably is. So that should mean that Democratic turnout should be great, and that should mean that Karofsky should be able to beat Kelly. But you notice Scott doesn't think that's going to happen. And I think it's a close call, although I'm hopeful and positive about Karofsky. That just tells you how conservative the turnout is in spring elections. And it is essential for Democrats to get that big turnout from the presidential race and at the same time have African-American turnout. And I'm hopeful and I believe that that will be the difference maker where Karofsky will win. There are a lot of other things. The Crowley race versus Larson, a guy who ran before, got a lot of votes, won the race in the primary here. Is he going to be able to beat Crowley, who will have a lot of the Abley money, for example, in this race? Obviously, an African-American community that you would think would be motivated, and that should be turned out. They've also got Lena Taylor for mayor. I think Tom Barrett will win that in a walk. And then you've even got Jason Fields running for comptroller. Very interesting races that will be coming up this spring. I think Karofsky pulls it off. I think Bernie Sanders probably wins, but I think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before we get to that point.
I think you're right that Sanders wins the Democratic primary for president here in Wisconsin. He did last time. He's clearly the front runner again this time. And you essentially have Bloomberg and Buttigieg dividing up sort of the more traditional moderate vote on the Democratic side. So I think Bernie wins.
And don't forget Amy Klobuchar, and we could talk about that maybe after this is all over. But I do think that there are a lot of different dynamics that could happen here. Bernie did win the last time. I'm not sure that Bernie's going to be the nominee. In fact, I think if I was a betting person, I would say that's less than 50-50.
I'm hoping for Bernie to win.
We'll see
you
next
next
time.
week.